Hi, I'm Brad with BowBars Archery, and in this video I kind of want to go over everything that you need to know about the BowBars Vise System, how to put it together, what's going to be in this box, any of the tools you'll need, some little tweaking features if you want to tighten things up or whatnot. Just go over everything in general so that way you're not wondering what's in the box, how do I put it together, and all that stuff. So we'll start, we'll open it up. This is the box that's going to ship in, 8x4x5 box. It's pretty compact. If you open it up, you're going to get another box. This is our actual packaging box. We ship it in 2 boxes so that way you're not worried about it breaking. We've had some in the past when I just shipped in this box, things would break and just more of a pain. So now we double box it, make it easier. We just fold the tabs out. Right on the top you're going to have the directions and a packing list. There'll be one right here. The directions are pretty basic. They just kind of have an assembly diagram. There's nothing here saying tools or anything like that. It's just a picture kind of showing you all the parts, kind of how they're laid out. This here video in the middle is the video you're watching right now. So if you scan that, you can come right back to this. You don't have to go look it up. There's also my phone number down here, so if you ever need help, you can feel free to call that right there. And a link to leave a review if you like the system. Right off the top, we have the BowBars themselves. These come with every system you buy. These little guys right here are what turn the BowBars Vise System and any tripod into a bow vise. So you can take this little guy around with you if you're traveling around, shooting at different places, going on a hunting trip or anything like that. Next up, if you order the micro adjust option, in this little bubble wrap here is the micro adjust base plate. This is a tri-lobe base plate. It's similar to transits and surveying. You can use it to adjust it. Go about all the other features of that shortly. Next up we got the ball head and the base plate. These come attached to each other. You can spin them apart by just tightening the handle a little bit and then undoing the base plate here. This just comes off. You got a 3/8/16 stud here and it attaches to the bottom of your ball head. This is an ISO standard. For all tripods and accessories they all have to be 3/8/16, so the micro adjust base plate, the ball head, and our base plate are all standard. There's no proprietary threads or anything like that. We also send with the clamp, so you get a clamp with every one of them. There's no buy this and that, you buy it all together. So you get a clamp that goes up to 5 inches, so if you want to clamp it down to a bench instead of screwing it down, you can do that. You don't have to worry about it, wiggling around and whatnot. We also send with 4 screws, so these 4 screws are number 6 Phillips headed screws. So if you want to screw it down to attach it to your bench, you don't want it moving anywhere, just do that. This is a 3/4 inch top, so I'll go about mounting it to that so you can kind of see how that works. And last but not least, a sticker, of course. You can put this wherever you'd like it. So yeah, that's everything that's in the box. To go about assembling it, if you order just the BowVise system without the micro adjust, you can leave this attached to your ball head. You don't have to remove that when you take it out of the box. You just spin it right on there. This is pretty much assembled. You just use your clamp to attach it to a bench. The clamp you just take out of the bag and slide it up like this. So this is your T-track clamp here. This goes in any of the 2 slots. You can put it in the middle one, but it won't go all the way through because there's that stud in the middle, making it so you can't do that. But you can put it in either of the 2 side ones. You can adjust the throat depth by putting it further or shallower into that little hole. And if you have a bench like this, so a lot of guys will build a 2x4 bench system at home. You just use a straight 2x4, you put a piece of plywood on the top of it. If you're doing it that way, you might need to put a little backer on the back here. This is just a 2x3. You could also put a 2x4 sideways. But by doing that, you get enough space, I'll kind of show here, that the handle will reach all the way up in there. Get this threaded real quick. So just like that there, it'll reach all the way up around that 2x4, so you have a little bit of a, kind of hide the clamp underneath the bench. Otherwise you can also screw it down. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to screw it down. If you're going to screw it down, I recommend using an 1/8 inch drill bit and a drill to drill 4 holes where the 4 holes are going to be in your bench. Doing that will make sure that the bench top doesn't blow out, the screws don't rip it back up. It makes the holes nice. You can't even see the holes in the bench right here right now. You can also use a Phillips headed bit in your drill to put the screws in if you want. Otherwise, I usually just use a screwdriver. That way I don't over torque them and kind of rip the wood up at all. So, I'm going to grab the block back off here. If you're going to attach the block, I recommend removing the ball head so that it's just the block and you're not working with this on there as well. We'll line that up with the 4 holes we drilled. You can use either a center punch or a little pen or something to get it down there, just little marks on it. You can also take the drill bit on the end of the drill and just kind of line it up, mark your 4 holes and then drill them. They don't have to be perfectly straight down or perfectly square because the screws will kind of allow it to float a little bit. We'll take out our 4 screws, run these guys in. Should go in easy if you use an 1/8 inch drill bit. We'll get that one. You might not want to tighten them all the way tight, just so that way it'll float until you get all 4 screws in. For this video, I'm just going to do 2, because I'm not going to be mounting it for permanent attachment here, but I would recommend using all 4, so that way you're not worried about this block ripping up at all. From there, if you have the micro adjust system, you'll take your micro adjust base plate. This is a 3/16 on the bottom. And just thread that guy right on. You're nice and tight on there. You don't need to really crank it, but just snug it up. And then on top of that, we're going to take the ball head. This is another 3/16. Just thread it on like that. There. If you're noticing that the ball head will keep spinning and spinning, that's because the ball head is designed to have a rotating handle, so it can be wherever you want. You'll have to tighten the handle up, so snug it up pretty good, and then you can take and give it a good turn, and it'll tighten that base on the bottom up really nice and snug. Once you have it there, you can kind of loosen it up. You can position this handle wherever you'd like it. So by default, it just comes in a side hole referring to this notch here. You have it on the left or the right side. I usually put it on the back side from the notch. That way, it's kind of off to one side, and then if you're going to lay your bow down horizontally, you can align the notch here and your handle's out on the end. For now, I'll just leave it where it's sitting. So, then once we have that, we're going to go on to the bow bars. So, these 2 little bars that are attached in this case make the bow vise possible. The top bar here is actually the bottom bar, so if you slide this out, this will be the bottom part that attaches to the tripod or the ball head. And then there's also another bar in here that is underneath of that one. This is the top bar. You just slide this guy up. Then you got your top bar and your bottom bar here. The other parts, we got an O-ring here, so we'll pop that off. You can use your fingers. You might need to use a little pick if it's a little hard to get in there. And then we'll use the thumb bolt and through knob that are on the end here. You just untwist it a few threads and then you can pull out. There's no threads on the inside of these holes. It's just to hold it a little bit. There's a little taper in there. So just a few cranks, pull it out, should be good to go. Here's where you'll need a tool. So the first tool you'll need is an Allen wrench set, beside your screwdriver, I guess. That way you can take out the little button-headed screw that's on the end. What this button-headed screw is for is if you have a solid limb bow, and you'll use both of the holes on the outsides here. We'll go over that shortly on when you're mounting a solid limb bow. For split limb bows, you don't need that. So we'll take and we'll thread this guy on. This is the bottom bar for your bow bars. We'll thread it on using the offset holes. So there's 5 holes in this thing. The 2 outside holes are for a solid limb bow. The center hole is for the thumb bolt and through knob from the top bar when you're using a split limb bow. And then the offset hole over here along the center line, that's where you're going to mount your tripod or your vise system. This other offset hole that is lower than all of them and through the middle of the rubber, that hole is for if you have a really short distance between your limb pocket and your cam. The Bowtech, I believe the RS, has a really tight spot. It's only about 1.5 inches. By moving that hole out into the rubber, you can still use it, you can still clamp. The shortest distance you can have is 1.25 inches between the riser or the limb pocket and your cam on the bottom side. So it's very, very tight. You can fit a lot of bows in there. So I'll take and thread this guy on. You just put it on the ball head, spin it on. You're good to go. If you're going to use a solid limb, there's also a set screw that you'll find on one of the end holes. You can take and remove this guy. If you're going to use a solid limb bow, you'll want to put this set screw in the middle hole. What that does is it allows you to lock the bow down to the bench, or to the top of the ball head, so your bar won't spin. Without this set screw, your bar will want to turn a little bit. So if you have your bow in there and you spin it a little bit, it'll want to loosen itself up. By using this set screw, it really tightens it down. You don't have that issue. Also helps save your threads a little bit in there, just keeping everything locked down tight. We'll use this solid limb bow back here to kind of mount it up and kind of show you how that works. So you'll position your ball head for a solid limb bow. You kind of look at how the limbs are on the bow. So the steeper the limb, spin this guy around. So the steeper the limb, the steeper you'll need to make your bottom plate here. So this is a little bit shallow yet. Take and run it a little bit higher here. We can use the little notch here if we want to get it real steep. We'll get that mounted. That's a little bit closer. And we'll take the top bar here, and we'll put this thumb bolt, or the button-headed screw, on one side here. We'll just run that into the threads on the one side. For a solid limb bow, it's a little slower. Split limbs is easier because you just go right down through the middle hole with the thumb bolt and through knob here. But for this, we'll do on the other side. We'll tighten this guy down. Just enough so that you know you got a good thread contact in there, and then you just spin your lock nut down. You don't need to go super tight, just enough that you can see the bows are being held. This one's a little hard. I've got the Vise System mounted in the middle of the bench. I recommend putting it on the end, kind of like this one over here. That way you're not trying to, you're not hitting the bench at all with your cam or your limb or anything. It's a little bit tight. So yeah, once it's in there, you can spin it over. This is just a demo bow, so it's not super heavy or anything. It's just a youth bow. You can tighten it down. So say we saw it was a little bit wiggly there, just tighten that guy down, or tighten your thumb bolt and through knob down, whichever one you need. Now you're good and locked in, ready to go. Using the micro adjust system, if you have levels that you want to use to level your bow, what you would do is you take and line up the bow with one of these knobs. So usually I have a stabilizer hooked in here. I'll take that stabilizer and line it up with one of the three knobs. That will be your forward and back, and then the other two knobs will be your left and right. So you might have to play with it a little bit. So I usually set the forward and back first, and then the left and right. But sometimes it wants to pitch depending on how you have your 3 points set up. So you just need to play with it a little bit. It's really intuitive once you've figured it out. And these are spring set on here, so they're really easy to move. You don't have to grab a hold of it and really wrench on it. You can just move it easy. So yeah, that's how you mount the solid limb bow. I went and grabbed my split limb bow, got it down here. I'll put it on for you so you can kind of see how that works. So in order to get your solid limb bow off, you can just take and start spinning the thumb bolt and through knob here. Get that guy all the way backed out. You can either use the through knob down there or just the thumb bolt itself. And then you just take and spin it out the side. If you're going to mount another solid limb bow, you just leave this on there, flip it across, and that's how you would keep mounting your solid limb bows. But for this, we're going to take off the top bar, take out that button-headed screw, and we're going to attach our thumb bolt and through knob through the middle this time. This is where the O-ring comes into play. You take the O-ring and you put it on the end of the screw here. What that does is when you go to tip your top bar upside down between your limbs, it doesn't fall off of the screw and you can kind of line it up a little better. So we'll take and spin this a little bit so it's kind of more lined up with where we need to be. I know that with my V3 the limbs are pretty parallel, so you just kind of make this flat for that. We'll take this guy, throw it up here. Now what we're doing is we're going to go, forgot to take out the set screw. So in here we put that set screw in order to make sure the top or bottom bar wasn't going to spin on the system. So we'll take that guy back out. Since we're using the thumb bolt and through knob in the center hole, we don't need to worry about that. This is a standard Allen, just like your standard Allens you'll use for all your bow stuff, so you don't have to worry about it being metric or anything like that. And then we'll just run this guy back in the outside hole just so we don't lose it. We should be good to go. Make sure that's snugged up just a little bit. And we'll take this, put it on here. Mounting bows is a little bit slower with this system, but it's more made for if you're working on your stuff at home and you only got 3-4 bows, you need a reason to go out in the garage and just kind of work on stuff. You're not really worried about ripping through 15 of them in an hour. Once you get it in there, you'll want to tighten this guy all the way down. It snugs itself up against the top of the ball head, acts as a set screw for this, and then you'll just spin down the thumb bolt or the through knob down here, and that kind of acts as a set screw against the top of the top bar. So you got that tightened down. Now you should be good to go. It stays pretty stable there. If we're getting any play, a lot of times it'll come from this micro adjust base plate down here. And this guy has 3 screws on the bottom and little springs, so you can tighten those up or loosen them. The tighter you make them, the harder it is to turn the knobs, but the less play you'll have. So it's kind of like a give and take. Usually I play with it from factory, and then if they're too loose, I'll tighten them up. But yeah, then you can take this, you can spin it around wherever you'd like. You can move the handle wherever, so if you have the handle and it's hitting your limb pocket, just move it off to the side, tighten it down. Also ratchets, so if you really need to tighten it down, you can do that by just pulling out on the handle, and you should be good to go. Yeah, so that's how you mount a split limb bow and a solid limb bow, the BowBars Vise System. These can also mount to a tripod, the BowBars can. So if you have a really nice tripod, some people when they go glassing out west have really nice tripods and really nice heads. Those make great BowBars systems because you can just mount this guy right to the top of it. Fluid heads are really nice because you can spin them around, one-hand operation, and you can, with the fluid head, you can put this micro adjust below the fluid head, kind of get your base leveled, and then you can use the fluid head, since they only pan forward and backward, you can use that to like set your axes and whatnot like that. So yeah, this is how you set the BowBars system up, complete from taking it out of the box to putting it together. If you have any questions, my number is right on the bottom of the BowBars. It's a direct line. Call me, text me. You can also email us back with your order numbers and stuff like that. If anything breaks, it's all on us. So we keep all these tools on your bench as long as possible. And we're always learning different ways to do that. So yeah, if you want to reach out, feel free to do so if you have any questions. But yeah, thanks for watching.